I go by the name Nas Kingston and I make instrumental music. Sometimes I make beats like this. And sometimes I make beats like that. Now, I've been making music for way over 8 days. So now it's time for me to start teaching you. Today's subject will be drum loops or drum breaks. Is it cheating to use them? The short answer is yes, it's illegal and you will go to jail. No, but seriously, I will walk you through a beat I'm working on. I'll show you why in some cases I prefer to use drum breaks. I'll show you also how I edit my drum breaks. And in the end, I'll share with you a little pack with some of my favorite drum loops. And you'll be able to download them for free. I'm currently working on a beat using a blues sample. Now, blues is not my go-to genre when it comes to sampling, but I really feel this one. So after I chop it up and flip it, this is what I end up with. Now at this point I decide to add some air, some soul if you will, to the groove. So I found this sax sample, I chop it up, I added some delay, and this is the end result. Now here's a little tip. If you feel that your sample, loop, chord progression or melody is stuck, it lacks diversity, variations, you don't know what to add, you can always go opposite to what you have. In this case, for example, I have keys, so I decided to go with something that is more soulful. I decided to go with brass instruments. Now, as I mentioned previously, this particular sample and groove is not something I'm used to. So I tried programming drums, didn't work out. I didn't like the kits I was using. I didn't like how it sit in the mix. I didn't like how it fit within the groove. It just didn't feel right. So in that moment, I go to my drum break library. Using drum breaks is definitely a shortcut. In a way, it is cheating. Here's why I made this video, to tell you something that I wish someone told me when I was starting making beats. Go and use drum breaks. Drum breaks and drum loops, especially those old school vintage drum breaks, they're recorded by real humans, musicians who were trained to use the instrument called drums. By using drum breaks and analyzing them, you learn a lot about swing, quantization, ghost notes, fills, snare rolls, hi-hat rolls. You will improve your own drum patterns and your own drum grooves, and that's the whole point. Having said all that, you need to edit them. You need to make them your own, you know? So the way I like to edit my drum breaks, and this is something not often discussed within the beat making community, producer, whatever. What I like to do is I like to use transient filters. Transient filters are designed in a way that they detect the peaks of the sound wave. So if you have a sound wave, the peak of it, transient will detect it and give you an option to either reduce these peaks, increase them, or make them shorter or longer. In other words, you can make your drums sharper or you can make your drums softer. I guess the best way to actually paint a picture of what I'm trying to explain is to demonstrate. So I have here my 4 basic tracks that I built when I start making this beat. I have my kicking snare, I have my drum break, which I have already named backbeat, I have my sample flip, and I have my saxophone chops. So if I single my drum break or my backbeat and I open my mixer, I can show you how it sounds without any effects. Now, pretty standard drum break. The first effect that I decided to apply is the transient filter that comes with the MPC software. This is the air transient. These are the settings that I'm using. I have set the attack to -100. That means that the peaks will be reduced as much as this plugin can reduce them. I have the attack shape of 0%, I have the sustain on 10%, and the output in the limit are set by default on 0 and on. Now the next effect that I have is another transient filter named Crack, completely free effect. And as I've mentioned earlier, in the comment section, I will include with a download link where you can go and download some free transient effects. Now here I have the attack set to all the way to -15 dB. I have the sustain on +8. The gain is on 0. I have the dynamic set on clip, and I have the VST effect working on 100%. So the next filter I have is high pass filter. This high pass filter comes with the MPC software. What a high pass filter does is allowing only the high part of the frequency spectrum to pass through. So I'm taking care of the peaks, I'm taking care of the very sharp transients, and I'm taking care of the low end, the bass in this drum break. Now this is how my drum break sounds with all of these three filters. I like to apply sometimes even 2-3 transient filters, and literally from a drum break I'll create percussion loop, something very soft, and then I'll use this groove as a metronome and I'll layer a thick kick and a sharp snare. And that way I'll create something that still has this live drum groove feeling, but at the same time it cuts through the mix and it has this thickness and this sharpness when it comes to the kicks and the snare. And finally, this is how my beat sound with the sample that I've chopped, pitched up, flipped. I added some sax samples, added some drum break, and layered that drum break with some kicks and snares. Now, hope you enjoyed this one. As I mentioned earlier, I will share with you a huge amount of my favorite drum loops and drum breaks. You can go and find the download link in the comment section. Also there, I will put links to my favorite transient filters. I will highly appreciate if you drop a comment. This helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. You can let me know if I'm doing anything wrong. That's what the internet was created for. I don't love you because I don't know you, but stay inspired and remember, life begins with a beat. Peace.